This episode is brought to you by Generate Solutions, your go-to AI experts specializing in empowering commercial real estate companies and environmental consulting firms. As AI is quickly transforming industries and enhancing efficiency, it is important you don't let your business fall behind. At Generate Solutions, we streamline workflows and automate tasks by creating custom AI agents tailored specifically to your business needs. Interested in taking your operations to the next level with AI? Email mfiorante@generatesolutions.com or find us directly on LinkedIn by clicking the link in the bio. On to our episode.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna. Today it brings me great pleasure again to bring in this gentleman who was a guest on our show about almost 3 years ago, and love this. Again, I opened up the first show, if everybody could go back to it, maybe down our episode list of A Conversation with John Conenna. This man just never changes the way he looks since 1979 for some reason. But anyway, I just want to run some things off about this gentleman before I bring him in. Just a few things. Inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame in 2013, voted 32 out of 100 most influential talk show hosts, recognized multiple years by Talkers Magazine as one of the top 100 most influential talk show hosts in America. Number one podcast, Emmy for TV productions, National Radio and Records Award for the best local afternoon talk show. I could go on and on. And today, the gentleman that you see on the screen is the legendary Garry Meier. And Garry, I meant what I said. You just don't change. I don't know what it is, but thank you for coming in, young man, and what's going on with you.
Well, thank you, John. And listening to those credits, it reminds me of that sitcom character Urkel. Did I do that? I'm humbled when you read that stuff, and I was just anxious to have a career that I would enjoy my whole life, and that has happened, so that's the good part.
You know, the last time we talked, I had mentioned this Hall of Fame to you, and I think you just you almost gave me the impression that you thought you didn't deserve it. When I say impression, you never said anything, but you took it as like the compliment of compliments. To be in this Hall of Fame, in any kind of Hall of Fame, I don't care if it's marbles, it means something to that person. What do you think? To be in this, this is a prestigious award.
John, I hope I didn't sound last time when we talked like I was dismissing it. It was something that I was so humbled by that it still, to this day, gets me to step back and think, wow, that is pretty remarkable, because my whole goal when I got into radio was just to, if I could offer something to the audience, do that. And then if it worked, keep going. And it did that. And that was my only plan. The Hall of Fame was not even remotely, I didn't even know they had a Hall of Fame when I started. Maybe they didn't, but that was not in my head. It's just along the way things happened and I got recognized by my peers. And you're right, that is something to be excited about. Believe me, people bring it up and I think, oh, thank you. I guess I'm just kind of one of those people who thinks I don't like to brag. And when I hear people on talk shows talking about all the things they've done, and I don't know. Maybe I should brag more about stuff. I don't know, but I like just kind of, hey, I'm just doing what I'm doing. That's fine, and move on.
Yeah, exactly. And you truly, truly do it for the love. To think when you go back to the stations that you've been on, like WYEN, The Loop, WGN, WLS, all this. Did you ever think, you were going to get to, just starting from there and what we talked about in our last interview to now, did you ever think you were going to get to this level of this status that you have? Because it's great. It's just unbelievable. And to keep doing what you're doing, which I want to get into with you, the podcast.
Yeah, to go back to what I just said, I didn't have that grand plan. I don't think I I believe you can have a grand plan, but it's going to shift and change and twist and this and that all along the way. So you don't want to etch it too much in concrete, because if it doesn't go exactly on the timetable that you wished it would, it could frustrate the hell out of you. And to be quite honest, John, when I was working at WYN, the suburban Chicago station, I thought, well, I'll be here a year and then I'll get to one of the big stations in Chicago because I'm right outside the city. I'm radio adjacent, and I'll get to one of the stations I really want to work at. I was there 3 years. And because I put that 1 year timetable on my head, year 2 and 3 got real frustrating. And I really am sorry that it did frustrate me, because when I look back, years 2 and 3 were some of the most fun I've had in radio. And I just don't want to put myself in the corner of, oh, I should be here right now. And if I'm not, why aren't I not there? That's something that it gets frustrating.
This when you're saying this, you're talking about at that start with WYEN, correct?
Yes, that was a station I had gone to after I had been at a Chicago station that was all automated, and I wanted to really be on the radio and do everything that I thought you would do on the radio. The first station was you recorded everything and plugged it into a machine, and that was fine to get started. It was my first radio job in Chicago, right. So I'm not going to complain about that. When I got to WYEN, the plan was, okay, I'll be here for, say, a year and get my chops down and then maybe get into a bigger station. So it didn't work out with that timetable. But again, it worked out exactly the way it was supposed to work out.
You know, you've come up in so many different things with me in the last year. I always say to myself, maybe I should play Lotto, because your name has come up in so many different ways. I had a client this past summer. We went to Italy, who remembered you very well. His name is Stuart Cohen. Who wrote a book about the WYN years, and says, John, he goes, I saw your interview with Garry Meier. Wow, he's, again, one of the greatest guys we ever had. And then, of course, a couple weeks back, as you know, Jobo Carbone passed away, Eddie and Jobo, with Eddie Volkman. And again, this popularity with those two and the popularity with you and Steve Dahl. I mean, my question to kind of start this and to get into the podcast thing, you think we'll ever see combos again of the Garry Meier, Steve Dahl, Jobo, and Eddie? Will we ever see that again? Is the radio type, this, well, we'll call it rivalries, and good rivalries at the time, of who you listen to?
I think the quick answer, John, is no, because of the economics of the business, where the business has gone. And I don't think they want to hire one person most of the time, let alone two on the same show. That's the problem. Unfortunately, they might have something going if they looked at a duo that could really do them some good, but I don't think they will much anymore because of that dual salary that have to pay for the one shift they've got. You haven't seen really many duos over the last 10 years because, like I said, the radio business is going through an incredible change, and I don't think really for the better at all.
No, it almost, it's just like I'll come home at night and I have children now that are in their 30s, married and everything, and they'll say, Dad, why are you listening to the radio WBBM with weather and or whatever the station is? I says, well, this is how I grew up listening to that. Or then I would go to my favorite thing. They go, oh, Dad, nobody listens to the news anymore. You just wing it. You just wing it. I says, but this was, to wake up to you guys or whoever else it was, this was the medium every day. Now we have, 2-3 million podcasts. What has been, and you've adapted, what has been, you think, the major changes with audiences? And the other thing I want to say, Garry, is now we don't know who to believe.
Well, you're right, John, in that we have multiple platforms carrying anything you can possibly imagine, and some stuff you can't imagine. So radio has hit a headwind. I understand that. Podcasts have been around, about 15 years now. But what I found when I was still working on radio, when something new was on the horizon, it seemed like they all automatically dismissed it as just something that's going to come and go. And I always thought, well, that's not good, because once the camel's nose is under the tent, the whole thing's going to come in eventually if you're not paying attention. And I just saw where the remaining Sears stores apparently are finally going out. And I thought, let's say this. Sears was Amazon 100 years ago. Isn't that what Amazon was 100 years ago? Sears sold everything and delivered. Isn't that what Amazon does today? How did Sears let their whole infrastructure get completely eclipsed by Amazon when they had, now maybe it's a lot more complicated than I'm thinking, but come on, Sears completely out of business. AM and FM still comes in every car off the assembly line. How do you not have some kind of beachhead where your product is still being given to people in their car? But now you've got satellite, you've got podcasts and everything else. So people go, well, if you don't give me the content I want, I can find something I really like elsewhere. Radio, I don't think addressed that early enough. It's the same thing with the record industry. When Napster came in, and they didn't plan for, when the internet came in, a wire carrying all the product you could imagine. And that's how the record business is a different animal altogether. Jeez. There's no record store down the block from where you live probably anymore.
No.
So all these, yeah. So I was going to say, if you don't see or look at this stuff on the horizon and at least kind of pay attention, adapt or die.
Exactly. I got a chance to interview Robert Jordan from Channel 9. And I asked him, I go, Robert, what? I mean, for me now, television, Gary, is just like, there is nothing on this TV when we talk about 2, 5, 7, and 9. I mean, you might as well close shop. Why can't we run? I asked Robert Jordan, the great journalist from Channel 9, why can't we run a movie at 10:30 on Channel 9? And he says, John, you know how much it is to run that movie now with commercials? Because now you could watch A Miracle on 34th Street on Netflix or YouTube and get it for free anytime you want. But just that hope and that wonder of that film that was coming on once a year, that first impression. Again, do you think we've just never will see this kind of thing, like you're talking about the radio, and I'm talking now about the television, of course?
John, it's economics, and let me address the local TV atmosphere. Yes. Local news, I don't understand why they're still doing the same format from 50 years ago, where they got two people sitting at a desk, this and that, telling you stuff that you've been watching on your phone all day. They come on at 5, 6, 10, 11 o'clock. Hey, this is what happened today. I know, I saw it 12 hours ago or 5 hours ago. They act like they're still the main carrier of the news. So what these local stations are doing, you've noticed it, no doubt, they're taking more of that movie that they would normally run or some other syndicated programming, sitcoms or whatever. They're putting their local programming in. You're going to see where these local stations are all locally produced. It's their own crew doing these whatever shows all day, because it's a lot cheaper than buying a movie or a syndicated show. And that's what's going to happen. Watch. You can see it now. Every hour from a year or two ago has already been absorbed by the station and their team. They're doing whatever locally, and that's where it's heading. And it all comes down to economics, and they just see it as more economical, because they're not going to pay these people that they've hired as much, a fraction as much as to rent a movie or a syndicated sitcom.
You're saying then eventually we are probably not going to be seeing this 10 o'clock, let's use the word 10 o'clock news anymore.
Although it's still the biggest revenue source. That's why they're not getting rid of it yet. That's what gives these local stations money. And it's not as much as it used to be, but it's still obviously doing what it's doing. Otherwise, it would have been gone long ago. And that's why we're going to see it until it really doesn't produce anything anymore. But in the meantime, they're adding local programming. It's cheaper, and it usually is an hour, so it takes up a lot of real estate. And here's the other thing. Networks are going to be pretty much all sports. in the future because sports is perfect for them. Generates a lot of money, takes up a lot of time, and that's all they care about.
Right. And I've noticed too, I know we're going back from radio and television here, which is, I'm glad we have this conversation today. A sitcom, they were saying of like to run the Carol Burnett show would never be possible to afford to do a show like that, a variety show or the Jackie Gleason show from Miami growing up as a kid or Lawrence Welk, whatever. There's no way to do this anymore. But this is the thing that's missing. But then the millennial, the young person who's in his 20s, looks at you when you say, oh my God, there used to be this show, the Carol Burnett show. And they look at you like you're weird.
Well, here's what happened with radio and why it started taking on water about 25 years ago. 3 companies own mostly all of the radio stations in the country. And they just started programming these stations like they were franchise hamburger places. They just treated them like, well, one station's just like another. The one in Cleveland is just like the one in Kansas City. So and they all started to blend and became homogenized to where, okay, now you're choking the life out of what they used to be, but they control the game board. So they thought, it doesn't matter. We have all the stations, so nobody can go anywhere. That was until the internet came in. They didn't see that coming, I guess. So now they have all these stations, a lot of debt, and the ratings and revenue have been falling steadily. So they just operate with a lot of debt and hope for the best. I don't know. But they're not doing what they needed to do years ago. They're still not doing it where content is king. You got to put something on that people want to listen to. See, that's the deal. So I don't know what their plan is because you don't hear people of the caliber of 20, 30 years ago where it was destination listening. People would go to hear those people. That was something that everybody was talking about. And that's not the case anymore. You don't hear of these big names across the board in radio like you used to.
No. And the combos like that you were a part of and anything. As we know, I mean, Rogan, of course, has a great podcast. I've listened to it a couple of times. But something came out of the Rogan podcast, and when I see someone like you out of your podcast, both times something came out of it. For me, the little podcaster, meaning this, Rogan, I think said in an article, if I want to interview Charlie Smith, the plain Jane Charlie Smith, and his story is something that maybe the people down the street are going to listen to, I'm going to interview Charlie Smith. It doesn't have to be J-Lo, the top star, like you're saying. Do you agree with this format also, that if it's interesting, people are going to listen?
Well, Joe Rogan's at the point now where he has so much power that you're right. He can interview anybody he wants, and his listenership is so passionate. That's good for them. And they're going to go along with it. So that's what happens when you amass that much power. And I got to tell you, that's a good point. But let me go back a step to TV stations and what they are going to be wielding, because we're hearing of these massive mergers that are on the table right now, where the studios are being bought by other studios or big investors, and they're going to own a lot of stuff in one company. That's what radio did. And I don't know if that's going to be good for the future. I really don't. When you get one company owning a lot of stuff and they control everything, it tends to really diminish the product. That's what we found in radio. We'll see if it happens with these TV mergers. Now, as far as Joe Rogan and power, and I don't do politics on my podcast, so please take that in before I say what I'm going to say. What he did wield, as we saw during this last election cycle, Trump went on his show for 3 hours. Okay. And I'm going to make a point here about campaigning. Joe invited Kamala Harris on, and she said, I'll do it, but you have to come to me. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. Big mistake. Here's why I'm saying that. Because these campaigns now are millions and billions of dollars. And it's funny to me where I thought, really, Trump doing 3 hours on Rogan is free. That's free. Take any free pub you can get, because free is free and you don't need to spend. I don't know why they keep spending all that money on these campaigns, they should look around for the podcast that would offer them time and just go for it, because that's where it's all at now. And I don't know why they haven't shifted altogether. Some still haven't, but I would imagine the next election cycle, you're going to see a very different campaign style.
For sure. And thank you for bringing it up. And we're not talking politics, we're not talking religion. I get it. But thank you for bringing that up, because at that time, when Trump went on and she says, "You come to me," I felt that was a turning point for her. And a lot of people looked at her a little differently than whoever was, whatever we were doing at that time.
And again, I'm not playing a political card here. I'm playing the optics of what it looked like to the average person. Well, if Trump goes into the studio there and sits for 3 hours, why can't she? I mean, people just put this stuff together and it comes out the way it came out. And my overriding point here is free broadcasting. That's what you're getting. Where these commercials you buy on network television and cable, they cost a lot of money for these politicians. Sure. They don't need to spend that much money anymore. It was, as we see, it's a different animal than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Right. No, exactly. You brought up a great point in our first interview. I'll never forget this. We were talking about how we were getting guests. And I think I kind of said to you, Gary, sometimes it's hard to get a guest and everything. And you said something to me that put me so much at ease. You says, "Hey, John, if somebody can't come on for 30, 40 minutes time, and they're giving you this spiel, I have this, I have that, or they don't even respond to you in the email, then don't worry about it." And I took that stance from that day. I want you to know that, I learned something from you constructive. Hey, I'm not going to get burned out here that Steve Dahl doesn't want to come on my podcast.
Well, I have that happen. And I was thinking like you until I saw Bill Maher on his show one Friday in the not too distant past, when he said, "I've invited all of these Democrats on my show. They completely turn me down, or they never respond, and they just string me along." And I'm thinking, wow, even Bill Maher, with the massive population of his audience out there, can't get people to come on. Listen, I'm not saying we're in that same orbit as Bill Maher, but people are weird. I mean, if you're in the public eye and you can't go on somebody's show and handle that, you shouldn't be in the public eye.
Right.
What's the problem?
Exactly. Why do you have this website? Why do you have this Instagram? Why do you have this?
Why are we doing this? Because you try to get people to come to your podcast. So whomever offers you a conduit to say, "Hey, here's some advertisement," why wouldn't you take it?
Free. Yeah, exactly. I got to ask you the question that really I love about you is this. After how we opened up today and all the radio stations you've been on, the combinations and everything, you've done it. I mean, you've done it all. What makes Garry Meier have this podcast, this cocktail hour? Because it's right there. It shows me the passion, the desire, and the love for it. What makes you keep going, and how have you felt? Would you start this in 2015, basically?
I'm entering the 10th year next year now. Yeah. So I like doing this. I mean, it's something I often say to people, I don't think I have any other skills, so I better just keep doing this and write it out as long as I feel I am entertaining or want to do it, or a combination thereof. That's why I do it. I'm not a golfer. I wouldn't know what to do with all that crazy ass free time if you retire. And so I guess I'm not going to retire is what I'm saying.
What is your agenda? What do you try to get? I mean, you in the way of what is that? The show is based Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
It's a new switch, John, where for the first, up until about a month or so ago, it was Monday through Friday, Tuesdays and Thursdays, premium episodes, Monday, Wednesday, free. Friday, I do a little tease for the cocktail show that's live on Friday evenings. As of about a month ago, I eliminated Monday and Wednesday, so now it's the two subscription shows, Tuesday, Thursday, And then we call it the pre-board on Friday for the cocktail show that evening. That's still free that one day. But I really appreciate when people sign up now for those premium episodes. If I could give the site to do that, if you don't mind.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Yes, please do.
GarryMeier.supercast.com. Very simple to sign up. And it's about $1 per show per month. That's what it averages out to. Yeah.
Dear, what is I mean, you'll interview a topic, a guest, it doesn't matter. You're going after a certain market of people?
Yeah, it's people that I see have a book out that intrigues me. I'll have them on, or just somebody that I've often liked and will invite them on. Or somebody approaches me and will say, "Hey, can I come on the show?" That it's about as equal in all those cases as you can imagine.
Yeah, and I've noticed with some people, like even the authors and the book people, some of the nicest people who it's so great when you're doing a book author, you're holding up their book. Mm-hmm. I think they're like in heaven when you're doing that and telling them, it's, again, the advertising part of it. Yes.
Well, again, selling books is no easy task.
No.
And if you've talked to anybody who's written a book, unless they're of the Grishams and the super sellers, that book industry, that's a tough road. So I think a lot of people that have a book are really anxious to get whatever publicity they can. And I'm happy if I'm enjoying the book, I'm happy to bring them on and talk about it.
You being, of course, in this industry forever and a day, and of course, the status that you've had, do you find it still rewarding, Garry, when somebody's coming up to you or calling you and saying, "Hey, Garry, I want to be on the cocktail hour with Garry Meier"? When you get that call or that email, how does it make you feel after all the years you've been doing?
Sure. It does, John. I really never get tired of that. It's always a thrill. And here's something that you triggered. I like when people send me an email and they'll go, "I just saw this and I thought of you." And here's an example. I'm always talking about all the litter along the highways of our country, and I can't believe nobody's picking up this litter. So somebody will email me and go, "I was going down an interstate and I saw a bunch of litter and I thought of you." It's like, thank you. Because those are the kind of thoughts that I trigger in people, because we talk about these different things all the time, and people get a kick out of it when they see something. "Hey, I thought of you as soon as I saw that." I get a kick out of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like the butterfly story came up with you, with this Mr. Cohen, his book, you were in the book and everything else. So I had to ask you that question because here, I want to be on the Garry Meier show. So when you have this conversation again, are you doing it where you're going to find, okay, what's this about? Do you have to go through a kind of a detailed thing with the guests, question wise?
Well, the approach usually is, if it's a book, I'll go, "Hey, can you send me the book? Let me read it and see if it fits in my wheelhouse." Now, there are some that don't. It could be child care or whatever. I mean, it just doesn't work for me because that's not what I do. I don't do any politics, as we have stated, so that's gone. But it has to, and I don't even know if I can define my wheelhouse. I just want to have a good time. And if it fits into that, then let's go.
Right. I've had friends of the family who, they must be think I must be getting paid for this. And of course not. And they're like, "John, you gotta interview Carla down the street. She makes these great Italian pastries." Do I look like I need another pastry? So, yeah, again, thank you for saying it that way, because you want the subject matter to be something that you like too. I want to like it because I don't want to be doing this all day with Garry Meier. Garry, what happened in 1978 with you and Steve? I don't want to do that. I want to be the spontaneous, the guy asking you the questions.
Now, to your point on that, I have a guest coming up. You might know Bill Curtis, who was a legendary news anchor in Chicago for many years. He's got a book out about his career. Whirlwind. And now here's what I'm going to talk to him about. Out of all those years doing news anchoring and reporting, the funny thing to me, and it's kind of what you said early about my career. So what's it like at this point? What gets you stimulated, this and that? the fact of the matter is, the last 15 years, most people know him from being the voice on the Anchorman movies with Will Ferrell. That's because everybody sees those. I mean, that's
Yes.
international, let alone national. And he is part of that uh, NPR show, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, on Saturdays. He's the announcer. And that
Yeah.
show has a huge audience. And I'm thinking he probably got more recognition from those things than many years of his career.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to tell you, I just got goosebumps when you told me you were going to do Curtis, because he was just in Chicago at the Broadcast Museum, and I do podcasts for the Chicago 16 and Softball Hall of Fame on Saturday, so I couldn't go there. And the gentleman that's on Channel 9 at night, Larry Potash, interviewed him in the museum Hall of Fame. So when you just told me that, I got a little envious, because I was thinking, God, I would love to interview Curtis. But let's take it this way. Let's go back to 1979, 1980. Garry Meier is here, let's say, and Curtis and Jacobson were already here.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing the Channel 2 news. It's, they were the hottest thing on the market. Though that was probably the best combo from 80 to 86 on television. Of course, Curtis with that unbelievable voice and demeanor, and Jacobson with those perspectives that he used to do. Now, here's Garry Meier. Is this the first time you've interviewed Curtis, Gary?
No.
Oh.
I've had him on my radio shows over the years, so this is not the first time. And he is the voice. When I do my intro for my podcast every day, I took a snippet from my radio show when I had him on, where I had him go, "He is Garry Meier." And I use that on every intro for my podcast. So Bill's been, part of the show in some way over the years. So I've known him for a long time. And I just got past the chapter where he was brought back. He was in Los Angeles doing news, and CBS got a new news team, management team together for Chicago, and they wanted to change up the whole look of the news, the way it was done locally. And the guys they brought in said, we want the anchors to be in the newsroom. We want it to look active and things are buzzing, not at a desk, not at a sterile desk with just the background of the city.
Right.
And they said, we got to get Bill Curtis. Let's bring Bill into Chicago. That's how he got to Chicago. And then they put him with Walter Jacobson. And that's how that combo started. Wow. And it's got to be organic. I always have been in a situation where if it was organic, it worked. If it was forced, it doesn't work. It has to just naturally go. And that's what happened with Bill and Walter.
Just to have him on, when will that episode be?
Well, he was supposed to be on, I don't know when you're posting this, but he was supposed to be on December 12th, but he got called out of town on the weekend of the 12th. So we're rearranging that for a future Friday.
Yeah, I will make sure
I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll get this out, and I truly appreciate it. To watch two legendary figures, Garry Meier and Bill Curtis, will be something. That is amazing that you've had that. So again, it's a variety of the legendary people, and of course the plain Jane guy or lady that has something going on. The podcast itself, 10 years in the running. If you look back now at these 10 years, how does Garry Meier critique Garry Meier and how he's done with this?
Well, it's a work in progress. I don't ever think I'm at the point where, I got this down, I can just post now. Always learning something. But here's the thing about podcasts. As you know, you just mentioned millions of podcasts, whereas when I was on the radio, I had maybe 2 or 3 direct competitors that were doing something similar, and we fight for that audience. Podcast, it's international, and it seems like everybody has a podcast. So we're fighting in the deep end of the pool here, brother.
Exactly. And, again, it's beautifully the way you said it. Here, I interviewed a gentleman that Chuck Gowdy, about a year ago. I thought, wow, oh my God, this is it. I ran home to my wife that day. I go, I interviewed Gowdy. It's going to put me on the map. I'm the next Garry Meier in Chicago. I get like maybe 600 views. Nothing against Chuck. I interview two guys with a beef stand, Anthony DeStefano, the two brothers on Harlem Avenue, and I get over 5,000 views.
People love food, but people love to eat.
So I don't know if it was 4,999 Italian people from my neighborhood, but anyway, the podcast went well.
Well, John, if we knew exactly what was going to drive numbers, we'd just keep going to that well. Nobody knows.
Exactly. Right. It's just, but I never tell people I interviewed the people from the stand, but I'll always tell people, I interviewed Gowdy. Garry Meier was a guest on my show. So you always,
Now I'm going to feel bad if I don't beat the beef guys.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I know your time is valuable and everything, but I have a thing of 5 questions that I want to give to you here. You can answer them one word, sentence, paragraph, whatever. You could stay on question 1 for 2 hours if you wanted to.
All right.
But let's try question 1, and then there's something I got to say about you at the end that's stuck right out at me. Sometimes when you're in that car or you're just sitting there after a long day and just maybe having whatever your favorite drink, who are those early mentors that you still think about and say, wow, they could still be here, could have been your parents or even journalists themselves. Who are those early mentors you still think about?
Well, John, I have told my audience a number of times, my parents' initials are AM and FM. So I was destined to do this, I guess. So that's the start of everything. The person that I think you're aware of this story, I may have told it the last time we talked, the person that sparked me was Larry Lujek in Chicago when he read my letter on his show.
On the butterfly story, right?
The butterfly story where he's always talking about reincarnation, coming back as a butterfly. I found a butterfly on my lawn. I sent it to him and said, I think I killed your uncle. He read it on the air. And that moment, when I heard that coming over the speakers, I was working in a drugstore. I'm never going to forget that moment because that was it. That transferred everything from whatever I was thinking I was going to do to I got to get into radio. And then I ended up working on the same station as Larry. That was bizarre.
Yeah. Was that LS?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about the spark to be with the idol, like the guy. What an amazing story,
Yeah.
Okay. What is the Garry Meier movie that he can watch 200 times and not get bored? Give me one or two. Give me one or two.
Oh boy. The ones that I really find impactful, maybe, well, all movies, I guess, are personal. I found The Graduate because of when it came out in my life was very transitional in its perspective of confusion. I'm not saying dating the mother and the daughter. That's not what I'm taking out of this. I'm just saying
talking like the scandal of it.
The scandal, but it was he's out of college and has no clue. He's just rudderless. I think that's what really kind of sparked me is, that's what a lot of us go through at that age, just rudderless and making some maybe very bad decisions in the process. So that was key. And then I was so enamored with Dustin Hoffman. He goes into the Midnight Cowboy role of Ratso Rizzo, and it was such a 180 that movie became really ingrained in my head. And that movie to me, because I had just gone to New York for the first time when that came out, and I see everything that's in the movie, and New York became this centerpiece to me that, wow, this is a huge city. Chicago's a big city, but New York is a huge city. And it's unlike anything you can imagine. So that movie, Midnight Cowboy, really jumps out at me. So, movies, it really depends on my mood. And if I need to really go sentimental, I got to watch Miracle on 34th Street during the holidays, not the remake. I don't know how you...
The original with Natalie Wood in black and white.
Yes. I don't know how you remake that movie, but they did. And into color. And here's a quick sidebar. I like to watch Andy Griffith because we all need that comfort, right? At Leave It to Beaver in the morning, Double Beaver, and then Andy Griffith at night, just to say, okay, my nervous system isn't completely out of skew. I landed on the channel that runs Andy, and they were into the color episodes. And that's after Barney Fife was gone, Don Knotts was gone. And it's really interesting how the show, when it's in color, it's too much. The black and white
a little bit, yeah.
The color, it didn't improve it at all. It made it actually, I think, more of a off to the side of, it's too much color. I want the black and white. Everything's better in black and white in this case, where it's more comforting.
Sure.
Right?
This shouldn't be, right? They should. Yeah, I've watched episodes of Mayberry RFD after Andy, and I just didn't get into it like you could watch that or an old Honeymooners in the Kitchen.
Yeah, and I just saw a documentary about Patty Chayefsky, who did Network. If you remember the movie Network in 1976, and they're talking about it today with 50 years ago, this comes out with the attitude, everything that seemed insane in that movie is reality today. Almost everything in that movie that, we all walked out of the theater and went, well, that'll never happen. It's all happening.
It's all happened.
It's completely happening. So that movie.
Incredible.
50
Great
years.
Great analogy by you, Gary. Great analogy today to bring that up.
Well, 50 years on, it's even more real.
Yeah.
In what we're going through.
Incredible. All right. All the years in the radio, I got to ask you this question. Give me one or two, what is the Garry Meier song that still gets Garry Meier going?
The song?
Like in the car, a song that, I got to get going. This is going to be a big day here. I got this.
Okay. Again, it's mood where it hits me at the right time.
When you need the lift.
Here's, when I was working construction, whenever I hear America's Horse with No Name, that reminds me of when I was working construction. So as we all go through the sentiments of that song reminds me of this era of my life, I go through that same thing. Or the harmony. I love really good harmonies like Southern Cross, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Okay.
That kind of thing. My daughter and I have latched on to Africa by Toto. When we're in the car once, I really turned it up and it became our song. So that's my daughter and my song when we're in the car together. I put it on, I'll go, put it in your Bluetooth, let's go. I want to hear Africa by Toto. So it depends.
Depends on that mood. But I mean, you mentioned three great songs for sure. Without
okay,
question.
And then if you want an incredible guitar open, Dave Mason redoing All Along the Watchtower. The opening of that song, just up all the way on the volume, up to 11.
That's All Along the Watchtower?
Dave Mason.
Wow. Yeah. Incredible. Okay. I'll have to listen to that one. Yeah. Well, see, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you that question, so I wanted to be the first.
Okay, good. I don't think they have.
Yeah. All right. A lot of moments. From those early
that's all
days.
Life is. John, life is just a collection of moments. It's
right?
Those that you remember, right?
Couple stand out doing these shows or even back in the day?
Oh, I have so many. I'll hear a tape. I rarely listen to the shows after I've done them, but I've been playing some from the last 10, 20 years, and I'll listen to them just to go, okay, how was it? And I think, it seems okay. I think we're accomplishing something along the way here.
Right. Okay. Cool. That's I'll take that for the answer. Because there has been so many. You could sit here. We'll need another hour of the show here. All right. Since we're talking about that and we're still on the same thing, if Garry Meier had to do it all over again, meeting Lou Jack, the letter, everything, your mom and dad, the mentors, is Garry Meier doing it all over again the same way?
Phew. I've thought about that actually over the years, because when things go a bit sideways, you think, wow, geez, if I could go back and correct that, but nobody can. So don't frustrate yourself with that. It's meant to be the way it happened, and you just got to go through it, no matter how good and bad it is along the way, and adjust accordingly. But overall, I can't complain. We all go through crap. And it's just a matter of how much, and if you can manage it and navigate through it, just as Winston Churchill said, when going through fire, keep going.
Keep going. Yeah.
That's all you can do.
And my dad had the same saying, forge ahead every day. Every day you can just keep forging ahead and not go backwards, right? Something I want to say about you, saw it. I always look for something to end this. I mean, I just love the fact that you wanted to do this again with me. And this is what I want to say about you. You love what you do. Carrying on all inventory in your head, and you feel, and the feels of successes is best yet to come. And I just love that line that you have at the end of one of your bios. The best is still yet to come. So young man, I know you got it all going on still, and this ain't over. And I really want to thank you for coming on a conversation with John Conenna today.
Well, John, I appreciate the invite again. And that little phrase there, all the inventory is in my head, that came from a friend of mine who owned several eyeglass stores. And he said that to me one day. I went into a store and he said, you know, the great thing about what you do, Gary, is all your inventory is in your head. I got to buy the glasses and hope that they sell and have the real estate to sell them and all that. And I thought, wow, he's right. I can carry it all around. I don't have to pay rent necessarily. It's emotional rent sometimes, but overall, yeah. And to quote Sinatra, the best is yet to come is right.
The best is yet. And I got to tell you, today was one of the first times that I did this podcast interview. A family member last night said to me, my son says, who's on tomorrow? I go, Garry Meier. And he says, oh, you got to go home and do something. I go, no. I go, I'm doing it off the cuff, the way Gary would like me to do it, not this question. And I truly enjoyed this today, sir.
Oh, me too, John. Thank you. I hope you have a great holiday.
Yeah. And again, if you want to mention your thing one more time, I would like you to do that right now.
Well, thank you. I would like people to sign up for my podcast at garymeier.supercast.com. Very simple to set it up when you go to that website. Like I said, it's about $1 per show per month.
Right. And you'll let me know about the Bill Curtis one. And
I'll let you know.
For sure. We have visited today with the legendary Garry Meier, one of the greatest radio personalities I've ever witnessed in my upbringing and everything else. This will go out on YouTube and Spotify probably by Sunday morning. So all of you can see this great interview with this legendary man. Thank you so much, Gary.
Thanks, John.